Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Danish guitarist and composer Jakob. We caught up with him about his newest 2021 CD, Uma Elmo. It is his fifth album as a leader for ECM, and it presents a very new trio. These days, he is also leading a few quartets and staying very busy. Over the years, he's spent some good time with musicians like Lee Konitz, Bill Frisell, Paul Motian, Kenny Wheeler, Paul Bley, Chris Cheek, George Garzone, and he's toured all over in places like Japan, China, South Korea, Australia, South Africa, the United States, and most of Europe. He's got a great story full of adventures. Enjoy.
I've been a fan of you for a while. Thank you for taking some time out for Neon Jazz.
Oh, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
You bet. So your fifth album as a leader for ECM, Uma Elmo. Talk to me a little bit about, before we get into kind of your vision and how it turned out on this album, I want to know, it's coming out during a global pandemic, still a very tenuous time on planet Earth. Talk to me about this new material coming out during this time.
Yeah, it was a special time, of course, all over the world, and my work and tours, concerts, everything was basically cancelled since March last year. And so the only thing really that did happen during the last year was that recording session. And yeah, it was strange somehow, preparing for something that I didn't really know was going to happen. You know, the 1 week the planes are not flying, the next week, you know, the borders are open again, and it was just there's so much uncertainty basically. So it was, yeah, interesting and frustrating at the same time, I think, to be composing music for this session, because like I said, I didn't even know if it was going to happen or not. Me and my family, we went out to a little cottage for 3 months or something, and spent the summer there, and I was writing most of the music there. Basically between, you know, my newborn sons, he was taking naps all the time, and I was picking up the guitar while he was napping, and I was writing small sketches here and there, and so basically I've been in a situation where it's been both a very sort of warm and loving time with my two kids being at home so much because of the pandemic, and then at the same time all this frustration about cancellations and musicians that I had to cancel with, and logistics, and then, you know, new logistics things getting postponed and then getting postponed again, and getting vouchers from airplanes, and then the vouchers, they expire because it's just been, yeah, a mix of both good and bad for me somehow. And I guess because of all these things, this last year has been very special somehow, and felt very grateful to be able to get into the studio with this group and somehow document, you know, the feelings that I had sort of accumulated during this time. And I think we all felt like that. And Afrolaika came from Germany, and Jorge came from Spain. Arve he's Norwegian, but he came from Sweden, and the sound engineer came from Italy, and the studio was in Lugano, Switzerland. So it was, but somehow it actually worked out, and then we were all sort of like baffled basically that we were all of a sudden in that concert hall ready to record. None of us were sick, everything was cool. Yeah, so it felt like a little utopia in the middle of this crazy time of everyone's life somehow.
All of you sound so comfortable together, and the thing I think that always blows me away, and it shouldn't be a surprise, is that when jazz musicians decide to get together and make music, and even if they haven't been together before and been well-versed together, there's a way that you all kind of slip into this.
Yeah, it's one of the beautiful things about music and improvised music, and it's like a language that you can, you know, we speak different languages, of course, also in the music, depending on where you come from somehow, but it's still translatable. You can meet and make music together and just do it basically. And I met Arve Henriksen for the first time in the hotel breakfast before we were going to record the music, and yeah, I think it's beautiful. It's really a special thing. We all sort of, I mean, this is what we do. I mean, we prepare, we work on our instruments and try to, you know, improve the sounds that you have, and then once the music is playing, it's like it's basically just a matter of listening, I think, and being open to whatever sort of direction the music is taking you. And I think it was very special, those 2 nights, 2 days in Lugano, that we hadn't played together as a group before, and Manfred was there guiding us, and the music just sort of, yeah, went its own way. It was beautiful, I think.
So the title of the album is the middle names of your children, and I was thinking when you said newborn son, what kind of impact does it have on you as a father, as a parent? How does that enrich the way that you go about constructing and writing and composing this music? Is there a big difference? How do you see that affecting the way you create?
Well, I think the main difference right now, I mean, he's very little now, and also my daughter is only 3 years old, so there's a lot of work in terms of just being with the kids, playing with the kids, making sure they're not hungry, making sure they eat, all these things that go with the job somehow. And it, I don't know. I became a father pretty late and was basically used to having all the time in the world. I could listen to records, I could practice as much as I wanted, I could, basically just use my time as I wanted. And all of a sudden I'm in a situation where I have a lot of things to do for other people than myself, which is, I think that's the gift, basically. It's like I don't have the same time right now as I had when I was writing music for some of my earlier ECM albums. I think that's a good thing somehow for me. It's just different. I'm sort of accepting the fact that right now is not the time for me to spend 6 hours a day with my guitar, for instance. It's something else that comes out, and I'm basically just trying to enjoy. I'm trying to enjoy this particular phase in my life where, my time is divided differently, and I think that's hearable in the music as well, for sure.
So I'm always interested. Copenhagen's been kind of a haven for American jazz musicians that were kind of evading the American racism and really found a good home. And I'm wondering how that American influence has affected you getting into jazz. What kind of influences really went into you becoming the jazz musician that you are and just growing up there?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right about the fact that Denmark has been a sort of... it was sort of the center, I guess, with Paris for a long time. There was so many incredible musicians living here. We had Oscar Pettiford, and Bud Powell was here a lot. Ben Webster, Dexter Gordon, Kenny Drew, etc. Thigpen was living here. So it's been that's become a part of, I think, many of the Danish musicians' sort of self-understanding. Like this is a place where jazz is very much appreciated, and. For myself, I mean, I grew up in a suburb. My father was a school teacher, but also he was a jazz music lover, and he was a trumpet player in a big band sort of leader. So I grew up with his heroes, which were, I mean, top number one was Louis Armstrong, and then he was, of course, Miles Davis. My father was a trumpet player, but Louis Armstrong was like the king in my childhood. But also Palle Mikkelborg, whom I play with today. Billie Holiday was a big fan, a big inspiration for my father as well. He was listening to Duke Ellington, Count Basie. He loved Dizzy Gillespie. We had a music room in our house where my father was sort of recruiting kids to his big band. So we had, he was teaching at a basic level: clarinet, trombone, saxophone, trumpet, guitar, piano, bass, etc. So we had all these instruments at home, and we had a big wall of sheet music, like American sheet music, basically, just like big band music. And so that had a big impact on my sort of, the way I sort of grew up, I guess, the way the music I listened to. And then later becoming more and more aware of tradition, and also becoming aware of what was going on in Copenhagen while my father was young with the musicians from America who lived here. It's all sort of adding up to become a part of me in a way, because it's, children's songs, psalms from the church, Danish folk music, all this stuff is also a part of me. But it's like, I think, it's sort of equal in a way for me. I basically grew up with both worlds in a way, which I think is coming out in my music as well somehow. I hope so, at least.
The one thing that is very clear too is that you've been around some heavy hitters. Paul Motian and Lee Konitz, Bill Frisell, Mark Turner. There's a lot of people, and I wonder, obviously Dream realized, being, growing up and wanting to get into this profession, to be around such esteemed people is probably a big dream. But what did you learn from them that you in turn took inside and made your own, where you taught others?
Well, that's like there's so many things. I mean, first of all, the gig I had with Paul Motian was, of course, completely groundbreaking for me. I was still living in Denmark at that time. I was with my parents, and when Paul Motian called out of the blue and wanted me to tour with him in Europe, that engagement somehow really defined me in many ways. I really learned a lot from Paul, and in many ways I consider him my mentor somehow. One important thing for me is that, when Paul Motian invites you to his group, when Thomas Danko invites you to his group, not just while you're playing with them, but also afterwards, you want to show them that they didn't choose the wrong person. It brings you into a place where you want to do your absolute best somehow to sort of honor their choice of picking you somehow. And that's been I guess a motivating factor for me in terms of also working on my own music, and after playing with these beautiful musicians. I mean, Paul Motian, it's like endless. His sound, his drive, his swing, his way of writing, his way of composing while he was playing. There's so many things. His way of getting bands together, creating contrast within the musicians, etc. It's just like a whole. I'll learn from him, for the rest of my life, I'm sure. And so there's many things I'd say. Some of the things that I find intriguing with some of the older generation musicians is that they have an ability to create something that goes beyond what you can learn that you can learn yourself. It's something that only life somehow can teach you, I think. And Paul Motian certainly did that, I think, when he was playing. I was always mystified by how he could, all these incredible musicians, they have an ability to go beyond the music somehow, where it's, where the thing that reaches your ears becomes a mystery somehow. It's beautiful and it's also a mystery. And I think that's, the more you surround yourself with people who can do that, the more you get showered in that sort of mystery, I think, and I hope that the older you get, maybe you one day can do that yourself somehow. That's one of my that drives me, I think, in terms of music. Why I'm still interested in playing. What is it that I love about music? I always come back to the fact that it's always the higher level somehow is what I don't understand that I really find intriguing.
You have a very particular voice. Your jazz voice is very particular on your instrument, and you're known for silences and the way that you put them in through your audio soundscape. And my question to you is how did you arrive at this voice that you have in your music? How did you get to this point?
I think, that's another question that sort of, it's a long journey, I think, and I'm still sort of searching. For a long time, I was doing a lot of sideman work, and I was dealing with different musical situations, trying to sort of fit in and also contribute to the musical situations that I was in. And I learned a lot from doing that for many, many years. And I think now I'm in a situation where I'm playing more of my own music, and so it's all a part of the journey somehow. One thing that I think is important in terms of the way I sound today is that I was never really that interested in the guitar. For many, many years I felt like I had chosen the wrong instrument, basically. I mean, I started out playing the trumpet and was then sort of thrown into the guitar by listening to Jimi Hendrix and some of the older blues musicians. And then pretty quickly afterwards I went back to discovering Miles and Coltrane and Clifford Brown and Lee Morgan. I was inspired by Monk, of course, and Nina Simone and all these. And I felt that the guitar was sort of almost like an alien in that universe. And so I really regretted having went from trumpet to the guitar, because I felt like I was in the wrong musical world somehow for that instrument. But I was too stubborn basically to let go of the guitar, because I felt like I had spent so much time practicing that instrument, and I was already playing in bands where I was playing the guitar, and it just felt like it was too big of a step to change. And then I think from sticking with my instrument, growing to love that instrument by sticking with it and trying to translate many of the things that I was inspired by onto the guitar, instead of for me, instead of trying to sound like Jim Hall or Frisell or Pat Metheny, or I would listen to Yusef Lateef, or I was listening to Wayne Shorter or Herbie Hancock, or and I think that sort of translation process has helped me also in terms of finding somewhat of a, I don't know, sound on my instrument that that might sound like me. But then again, it's like, I love Pat Metheny, I love John Abercrombie, I love Ralph Towner, I love Frisell. Kurt Rosenwinkel can do incredible things with the guitar. There's a whole bunch of young musicians, Ben Monder, of course. So there's so many approaches to that instrument that I now listen to and love. And of course that also comes out, I think it's a part of a, almost like a musical family tree somehow. You can hear that we are all connected in a way, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
As we've kind of touched on with this pandemic, things are going to start getting back, and you're going to be back on the stage, we're going to be back in the audience. What do you hope we realize about the power of live music when we do return to that environment?
It's almost like an art installation. If you see somebody walk up to us on a stage, real life, and sit in front of them, and they produce sound in front of you. I mean, that's what a concert is, and it's been so normal for so many years. But now it's like, when I think of it now, it's like whoa, that's like really. That's pretty deep somehow. When we're touring with my trio, or with Joey Barron and Thomas Morgan, we're three people traveling around Europe, playing a different country every night, and somehow you can quickly get to a point where you just where you don't even think about that as being a special thing. But music really has a strong sort of it's like the healing force of the universe, right? and we really need it. We don't need it only on CD and LP players or on Spotify or Apple Music. We really need to see human beings produce sound. I think for me, I'm speaking for myself, I need that. I need to sit in front of somebody and then listen to them express themselves in this language. It's a really, really powerful language, I think, and so missed at this point.
My final question to you is this. Everyone has their idea of who they think you are, a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you wake up and live your life each day. Who do you think you are?
Oh man, well, I'm trying to just find myself in a way. I'm in a special place somehow with on the one hand having a family with 2 kids and being at home doing housework, and then on the other hand I'm playing with all these musicians that I grew up basically fantasizing about. Like I'm text messaging with Bill Frisell, and I'm emailing with Kurt Rosenwinkel, and I'm playing concerts with Jorge Rossi, and so it's sort of like a wild place I'm in at the moment. And I think what I try to accept, I guess, right now is that to bring those two worlds together somehow. It's and then hope that it's that's okay in a way. I'm not able to play the guitar like Brad Meldau plays the piano, for instance. I'm a different musician, and at the moment I'm using a lot of my time with my kids, and that's gonna sound. That's gonna make my concerts sound in a different way also. So I'm trying to sort of just accept the life that I'm surrounded with somehow, and be grateful, and also sort of the music that comes out is sort of a direct result of that in a way, and that's okay.
Jakob, thank you for taking some time out. Thank you for the music. Good luck with everything as we move forward.
Thanks. Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Denmark, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Jakob for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.